Hey, everybody, welcome. It's the Amazing Race Recap Show. Today, we are going to be recapping episode 1. Also joined by Calbert tonight. Calbert, how are you doing?
Doing good. What's going on, everybody?
Awesome. It's going to be a really fun episode tonight as we review the first episode of Amazing Race 31. The season, it seems like we were waiting forever to get here. The episode was titled "You Are in Our Race Now." So, first episode, I guess let's dive into it. We started at the starting line. We did the whole spiel about Survivor versus Big Brother versus Amazing Race. Everybody kind of got their quirks in. What did you think was interesting about this part here?
I thought it was interesting how the Survivor teams, in particular, Rupert thought, we're a Survivor team, we're pretty strong, we're pretty tough, and we're no pushover, and yet he finished practically last had it not been for a cramp. So I thought that was kind of interesting that that the Survivor teams sounded fairly confident, and they got a hard dose of reality.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, he's at the starting line. And he goes, "Us Survivor teams are really tough."
Yeah.
That was kind of funny, but yeah, I thought it was a pretty good introduction. They kind of introduced like 4 or 5 of the teams, and then they introduced the rest of them when they started the first task, which was Phil says go, and instead of them having their clues on their backpacks like most seasons we've seen, they actually had to do a task to get their first clue, which they had to go into a huge sand shape of an octopus and dig and find their clue. I thought that was pretty cool. What did you think of that?
That was pretty interesting. I wasn't exactly sure what they were going to do, because I was like, where usually the clues are, like you said, usually the clues are right by the peg, but not this year. And those clues were in pretty deep. It wasn't like, dig a little bit, there's the clue. It wasn't that simple. It took every team at least a couple minutes to kind of get their bearings about having to deal with the sand and then having to dig and then finding the clue. So it wasn't as simple as blow a little bit, and the clue's there. They actually had to put a little bit of digging in. So.
Yeah, I thought that part. Sorry, I thought that part was really interesting as well. The the funny thing that.
Can you repeat what you just said? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I thought the funny thing was that they didn't show anything of the airports, like most seasons do. So I thought that was kind of strange. Like they usually show them all going into the airport, and they didn't this time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way I actually kind of got there, and then they were trying to size each other up. I thought it was also that they started in that kind of games. It's usually that Japan is usually something that they tend to do in the middle of the season, but they started right away with it. So.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a tradition where they leave the airport and they they're all kind of racing to go to their first destination usually, and this time, we didn't see it happen, and I was just like kind of surprised by that fact, because it's usually always like,
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, it didn't really like have any effect on the race placement, but still, it was just surprising to see that basically. So.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so we all find out that they go to Japan. So, what did you think? Starting off with Japan, I mean, it's happened. It's happened off top of my head. It happened in season 26.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of interesting though that it started right away, right out of the gate. Usually Japan is what they like to hang on to a little bit longer. There have been a couple of seasons where it's been like the second or the third part of the trip, but this year it was right out of the gate, and I thought that was kind of interesting that the cousins did, with their lack of success in Japan the last time they were there. They did really really well this time. They crushed it. So Japan's kind of a tough. It can be kind of a tough place to start off at. I thought it was interesting too that the survivor teams were like, well, none of these signs are in English. Well, of course not. You're in Japan. they're not going to be in English.
Well,
welcome to the amazing ring.
I thought it was also funny how Rupert goes, "Oh, this is way tougher than Survivor." Like that was like the first thing he said, and the funny thing or the cool thing I liked about this too is like both clues were at different locations and they ran out, so you couldn't just like go to the same place. I loved how they actually split them up, and you kind of had to make your own choice, and both choices were a risk because you really didn't know how the other people were doing.
Right. I kind of like that too. By the way, that they had such limited amount of clues that you kind of had to pick and choose where you wanted to go, and you had to be sure. And that was also a really smart move by the cousins that when they got there to go, okay, we found this place. We're going to tend to argue with each other to throw what seemed to be like about 4 or 5 teams while they were standing right near the cousins. We'll pretend to argue. We'll throw all the other teams off, and then we'll go get our clues. And it works spectacularly for them.
Yeah, the Afghanimals. I mean, Afghanimals. They had a lot of strategy right away. I thought that. I mean, it definitely fooled a bunch of teams. Like you could see Corinne and Eliza. It fooled them obviously. So that was. I thought that was a pretty good tactic by them. I thought it was funny too, though, that Rupert and Laura were the first team to find the clue, to get to the shoe place, but once they got that, it's just like the whole leg just was terrible for them. Like they could not find anything after that. So
right,
yeah.
And they weren't the only ones. The team, Brittany's team had trouble also getting off of the subway. Like they got lost, which was interesting. I mean, it wasn't nearly as bad as Rupert. Rupert would probably still be in the park
If
had it not been for the border patrol. That kind of just made me laugh. Amazing Race does a good job of showing that to us. They do a good job of it took this team 43 attempts to eat the shoe, which just to backtrack for half a second, the object of this week's roadblock was to eat the chocolate that looked like the design of a shoe, but all the shoes looked fairly similar to me. So the only way you're able to find out if it was chocolate or not is by biting down. So I thought that was kind of an interesting task. I thought to start off with.
Yeah, it was kind of luck based. I don't know how much, if you could actually see like anything to make it seem like it was chocolate or not, but yeah, I think it seemed like most teams, at least some teams got lucky, but at least some teams at least had to try at least like 5 times. So I thought it was an interesting task. I don't know if it was the most exciting for a first episode, but I think it still kept people's attention because it's like, heck, they're biting into a shoe, you know. I think that was kind of the whole point of it. And you know, I think was it Nicole and Victor? Were they the ones who had they had like they were there like 40 times, or they had to try 40 times?
Yeah, 43 times at least. Yeah, and that kind of made me laugh because Victor even joked and was like, that was a lot of wood that I had to eat, which, and to your point, I mean, you really couldn't tell on any of these the difference between what the shoe looked like and what the piece of chocolate was. I mean, it looked like a white shoe to me for pretty much everything. And Victor even tried putting on glasses, and that didn't seem to help. I was like, wearing our glasses isn't going to matter. They look the same to me. They look fairly close to being almost identical. So the only way you're going to be able to find this out is if you bite down. So I kind of with that.
He said his teeth were actually hurting, which was
Yeah.
crazy for how many times he was actually trying that out. So,
Right.
yeah, I think really, I think the other thing is like Art and JJ. Like, I mean, they were your number one team. I think they were fifth on my pre-rankings. I'd have to go back and look, but that was shocking how bad they were. Like, considering they've been on the Amazing Race before, they could not find anything. It seemed.
I think that part of that had to do with because it rained. That's something we kind of left out. It rained when they all landed in Japan. So I don't know necessarily that I can say for sure that might have played a factor into them climbing that Mount Fuji look-alike. But yeah, they looked dazed and confused, and the fact that JJ lost 40 pounds didn't seem to matter. It was really, really hard for them the entire time.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, they couldn't find any directions. They had, I mean, just numerous problems. I mean, they did okay. They did okay at the shoe challenge. I mean, they got that. Yeah. They seemed to get that right away. But everything else for them, finding the clue, to, you know, just doing the whole Mount Fuji thing, that was just, I don't know. That was crazy to me how bad they did. So I guess, I mean, as far as like the shoe challenge, I think, you know, it was kind of luck based. I don't think it's just kind of, you know, if you picked the right shoe, if you got lucky and picked it, you know, so that was kind of, that pretty much was that. So let's go to the second challenge, which was also based on a Japanese game show. It was, the clue read you had to climb Mount Fuji, but it was like a 20-foot hill, it almost looked like one of those, you know, bouncy houses almost, but it was like a hill, and it was wet because it was raining, like you said, and that played a big factor. And but the thing is, there was like these divots where you could kind of grab onto and try to find your way. So it actually seemed to me, the way the editing made, it seemed like the Afghanimals actually had some problems with it, where other teams were able to cruise. Like, we knew Becca and Floyd, obviously, she can climb and scale mountains like nobody's business. But, you know, it seemed like some teams, like Chris and Brett, I mean, they had problems. That was the other big thing. Brett.
That was disappointing. That was so disappointing. He gets up there and goes, now what do I do? And I'm yelling at the screen, going, look to your right. Which, I mean, I don't know how it worked in editing, but to me, when you got up there, they're right there. So, like, even when you're climbing, you can go, oh, okay, there's the clue. All I have to do is grab it then. But he got all the way up there and went, now what do I do? And then slid back down. And of course, you know, once the team is completing a task, the partner can't help. So that just kind of made me feel bad. I mean, luckily, the only good thing that happened for me this week was that, at least with the team that I picked, which thankfully wasn't the Border Patrol because I would have been out already. But yeah, that was kind of funny, and Brittany had trouble with it too. Eliza had trouble with it. I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought, because I saw the same divots, and I'm like, why don't you guys just grab the side of the divot and pull yourself up? To me, it didn't look like it was that hard. I know it brains, that played a factor. But it's like running up a hill, right? So you run up a little bit and then you catch your breath, and then you run up a little bit more and you catch your breath. Not saying it was completely impossible, because Becca makes everything look almost impossible with her mountain climbing experience. But I thought it seemed like a lot of teams had trouble with that. They're like, I can't get any footing, I can't get a grip. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. It was just like, it gave some teams problem. Like, like with Brett going all the way up there. Like, why? How did you not see that? And like, how does he not notice that there's a clue up there? Clearly, you have to climb the mountain. So I don't understand how he missed that. Do you think it was just maybe adrenaline?
I think so. I think that might have played a factor. I think that possibly because of the inexperience, because they're a team survivor team. So they're like, oh, okay, I climbed the top. Maybe once I climb the top, somebody will hand me the clue. I mean, I don't exactly know what they were thinking in their head. I'm completely spitballing. I mean, I could see the clues even from the bottom of the hill. So I'm like, oh, if I were doing this task, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hang to the right because I'm right-handed, and it seems like that's where a lot of the clues are. Plus, it's easier to reach. But I think he just assumed that once I'm up there, okay, now what? Somebody's going to hand me it because I climbed the mountain, right? I completed the task. So I think that's where the inexperience of not being in the amazing race possibly might have played a factor.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it definitely looked like there was a big learning curve between the Survivor, Big Brother, and Amazing Racers. Obviously, the Amazing Racers, besides Art and JJ, all did really well. I mean, I think they all took, I think, the top 5 spots. I mean, if you count Rachel and her sister, I mean, she was on Amazing Race, so she I kind of count them Amazing Race team too. They all took first 5 spots, so I think it was
which I would have thought without seeing it beforehand. I would have thought, okay, this is if it's going to be the 1 week, it's the first week. This is where the experience is going to play a factor. So 3 Amazing Race teams took the top 3 for sure. The Cousins, your team, who you took, which I thought they did really, really well. Corey did well with that meditation thing. Seems to be working well for him. He did not panic or anything with the shoe challenge. He just kind of sat there and was very, very zen-like. And then my pick took third spot.
He is. But, like, you can see his face. Like, you can just see how intense he actually is. And you can see, like, he's just, he gets really pumped up when Christy obviously, gets the task right. Like, he was very excited. But you saw him climb up the mountain. He did really well. He's just a guy that he's going to give it his all. And he's very competitive. And I think like that in this episode, it showed like how intense he can be. But the meditation, I think, hopefully will calm him during later in the race, because I mean he's definitely prone to getting kind of getting the competitive edge almost kind of blow up in their face a little bit. I don't want to say it does, but like he's so competitive sometimes that it kind of like. It's sometimes like he's sometimes just got to take a deep breath and just kind of refocus. And I think the whole meditation thing, I think, might actually help them. So,
and they actually talked about that on the mat too. They were like, it's going to be interesting to see if this meditation thing continues to work, or at least to give us an opportunity to kind of take a breath. Basically, it's my interpretation of kind of what it is that's working. Give us an opportunity to kind of take a breath and just yes, we can go 100 miles an hour, but we can also be calm about it and not fly off the handle.
Right.
Right. So,
yeah, no kidding. I thought Tyler and Corey, I mean, they played it pretty cool, kind of like what they did in season 28. I didn't see them really struggle at all. They were
the one thing that I'm concerned about with my take with Tyler and Corey is that they said they weren't going to change anything, but they took their last time. We're not going to change anything. Okay, well that's fine. You took third the last time you were on the show, but don't you kind of want to win? So it could just be just that's the thing about the show, right? A minor tweak one way or the other can really, really affect your team and affect your positioning as the race goes on. So that did at least get my eyebrows raised and go, we're not going to change anything. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get what they're saying, but there's definitely things they could have improved on. I mean, they didn't. I mean, they did really well last season, but I mean, you saw it. I mean, they almost lost to the father-daughter team in their season. If it wasn't for him forgetting his bag, they probably would have been eliminated. So there's definitely things they can work on. But as far as like the chocolate challenge, I thought they did really well. I mean, he bit it was like a second try and he got it right away. And Corey seemed to climb that mountain pretty easily. So I think, yeah.
And I didn't fault the Border Patrol team for taking the 4-hour penalty at the mountain because Rupert had to do the mountain. I honestly didn't think Rupert could get up there on the first try. I mean, I know they were cramping, and I know that they were both very, very, very frustrated. You could clearly see that they were very, very frustrated right when they got there. Like right when they missed the first attempt, they were like, okay, crap, this isn't going to be as easy as we thought. And then Rupert, who might have grabbed a sandwich, took a nap, toured half the park, and then toured the other half while he was going to the mountain. Got up there, lickety-split, first try, basically. I mean, that was I don't fault them for taking the penalty. I mean, considering that it took Rupert about 3 hours to get to the mountain.
I mean, they were bad.
So
like they got that first clue pretty easy, and then they could not find the shoe place. They could not find the mountain. They couldn't get the clue to get to the mountain. It took them that long. I mean, they are obviously directionally challenged. So I think though, if Rupert would have listened to Laura, they would have been a lot better off because she suggested it was across the street and he would not listen to her. So yeah, I mean, if they want any chance at surviving in this game, no pun intended, they're gonna have to get better at being more alert. It just seems like they were looking in all the wrong places, and they were even looking behind a well, like a wishing well thing, and like they thought the clue was like hidden or something. Like, I mean, they should know. Like, Amazing Race generally doesn't have hidden clues a lot of times, so they're usually relatively easy to spot.
Well, and she said that too. She said it's usually a big box. That's usually what it is, and she was right. I mean, so she knew exactly what to look for, but for whatever reason, they had such trouble. I've already found my team that and I know it's only week 1, so we kind of do this as the season goes on. We talk about the teams that we already do not like, that we already want to get eliminated, or that just rub us the wrong way. I have my team, and it's Corinne and Eliza.
Oh yeah, they're the villains for sure.
Yeah, they basically just insulted practically every team, including Rupert, who I know we've kind of piled on quite a bit already. They basically called the teams, dumb, and they were very, very lucky to not be eliminated because while Rupert was looking through the wishing well and sandwich and taking a nap and the Team Border Patrol was struggling to get up the mountain, they couldn't find it either. So they're very, very lucky that they didn't get eliminated.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Like they could have easily gotten eliminated. They weren't very good, but they were just they didn't take last, and they're going to be one of those teams I think is going to get a little bit better. They're going to have a good leg next week because I think they're going to, in my opinion, I'm guessing, because I've seen teams like this. Like, it takes them, I mean, this is their first time in the race. They're going to get adjusted to it. I think they'll probably have a better leg next week. I could be wrong, but yeah, they definitely shouldn't be cocky at all. I'm hoping they're not, but because they did not run a great leg at all. So, I think as far as Rupert, I mean that's just crazy how it took him 2 hours to find it. But going back to Art and JJ, like I don't know, like wouldn't you think the better thing would have been to maybe just rest for like a half hour, try to get the cramp out. But I listened to the exit interviews, and he said he ran through the field, which was all muddy, and I guess that really made it slick, and his leg just he just couldn't do it. So I guess it's just, I think they got the wrong pairing. Like, he should have done the chocolate challenge, and then his partner JJ should have climbed the mountain. So I think that probably would have worked out. But who know? Hindsight, you don't know. That's
right. I
you know,
2020,
right.
JJ even said that after the first try, and I mean, I don't honestly think that JJ thought the cramp was that bad. I mean, it didn't look that bad. That was the thing that surprised me with that entire thing, was that if you're a guy that's lost 40 pounds, and I'm not saying this is going to be, obviously it's not, unless you're Becca, it's something that, it's going to take everybody a couple tries to do. So even if you have to snail your way up, meaning in going like 2 inches at a time, you should still be able to go 2 inches at a time and get there. Now, that cramp was obviously way more painful than either one of us thought, but I mean, still, you've got to power through it at that point. I mean, I'm not saying, that's the thing about it too, right? I mean, injuries happen, cramps happen, so it's one of those things that you got to kind of power through. I'm not saying, if I had a cramp, yeah, that would have been terrible. That would have sucked if it were me, but I would have at least been able to try and power through it, and at least, even on one leg, at least make it a close race to the mat.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, obviously he didn't drink enough fluids, it's just odd to me. Like, there was only really one other team that struggled, the Afghanimals, and then, I mean, Chris and Brett, I mean, you could say they kind of struggled, but it was just a matter of not being able to be alert and see the clue. So,
right.
All right, so,
which that happens.
Yeah, and so, I mean, with Art and JJ, I mean, Rupert getting on the first try, obviously, you got to be pretty devastated, and then going out first, it's, that was a total shock. I did not see that coming, especially since how good they did last season they were on. So Afghanimals won the leg. They took first. Colin and Christy took second. My team took second. Your team took third. Corey and Tyler. Fourth place was, who took fourth? Was it, I'm trying to think. I thought it was another Amazing Race team. Was it, I'm trying to think who took fourth here. Because, was it Janelle and Brittany were up there, but I don't know if they took fourth.
I don't think they took fourth. I want to say they took fifth, because they did the little celebration when they got there, because they had trouble getting to the mountain. They were fine. They were fine getting to the shoe challenge. It was the mountain. That was another thing too that surprised me. I'm like, where are you going?
Right.
They were going anywhere they wanted to, pretty much. Luckily, at least in Japan, they have a map that says you are here, just like everywhere else in the world, which is good. That was pretty interesting. I thought I was concerned with Victor. I didn't think he was going to be able to finish the shoe challenge in time, but he did fine.
Yeah. I think, the Afghanimals, they just kind of they weren't the best team, obviously, but they were able to get it quick enough, and and to be able to do that, and it didn't affect them. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
It didn't. They were good enough. I mean, they got out to a pretty good lead to start off with, so that obviously helped them quite a bit. So, okay, so actually, I think Nicole and Victor, I believe, were fourth.
That makes sense. Because,
Okay.
Because Phil asked them what it like to be on the Amazing Race now and actually experience it, and Victor said it's harder than it looks, and Phil kind of chuckled and went, "It's only going to get harder."
Right.
And,
right.
And she kind of chuckled and laughed, and you know.
Oh,
so.
I'm actually wrong on that. It was actually Rachel and Alyssa. They were fourth place. I was just kind of have the episode on rewind here, but yeah, they took fourth. So it was all Amazing Race. At least have one Amazing Race member taking the top four, obviously besides Art and JJ. So that means fifth place was Nicole and Victor. I thought they did pretty good for their first time.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and now they got a little bit of a taste of it, and as we kind of saw in the preview for the entire season, I mean, there's kind of a mixed bag of like everything, kind of like we talked about in the preview show. We said that they're going to kind of throw a bunch of different elements from all three shows at each team. Yeah. So I think that's going to be interesting as the season goes on.
Okay, so Rachel and Alyssa were fourth. I was wrong again. Fifth was Team Fun. Sixth place was Nicole. Yeah. Yes. So Nicole and Victor took sixth, but they were the best team that have not been on Amazing Race before. So that was, I think they did. I think they did pretty well for themselves. So.
Well, and I mean, if Team Fun gets eliminated, I mean, they could always do like a beatbox rap thing.
Sure.
They can go on like Wild 'N Out or something, because they did really well. I mean, their fun meters are already at the top. So.
Yeah, that's right. Right, they're in primetime form. And then Chris and Brett took seventh, and then eighth place was Janelle and Brittany. Ninth place, obviously, was Corinne and Eliza, and 10th place was Rupert and Laura. Surprisingly, it was shocking, and Art and JJ getting eliminated.
Right. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I honestly thought, and our power rankings last week had Rupert last, and we were feet from that probably happening. Had it not been for the cramp, I mean, Rupert would have been. I know for a fact that JJ would have been able to outrun Rupert.
Oh, definitely.
I'm betting vital organs on that.
Definitely. They just got a bad luck of the draw. I think with Art, cramping up, there's really nothing he could do. But JJ's kind of the more athletic one. I think it's just, that's how the Amazing Race goes sometimes. It's, there's no do-overs, there's no, try-backs, there's nothing. So, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I thought that was interesting too, because that's the thing about the Amazing Race too, is that there's cardio in this.
Yes.
That was the surprising thing for me, was to look at them and go, they're not in shape. They're physically there and they're mentally there, but emotionally they're not in shape. They're not ready to go.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, and Art was saying like how he lost like 50 pounds and whatnot. It's like he thought he would have been better, but man, it's just not good. And he even said like he was sore for 3 days, like he couldn't walk for 3 days. So it had to have been really bad. I don't know. Maybe his legs were not in good shape. I don't know.
Right. That's something we don't know. I mean, like what could it have been like when they got off of the plane? I mean, because we're under the assumption that they come right off of the plane and they go right away. So if that's the case, I mean, Japan, obviously, oceans, right? Many, many, many hours on the plane. So could it have been just something as simple as he went to get up from his seat at the plane, and that's kind of when it really started to start, the cramp started, and then, okay, now I have to run, now I have to walk, now I have to move. That's the thing that we can both attest to about getting off of a plane after a long flight. It's not that easy.
No.
You're sitting on it for 2-3 hours, and then you go, okay, my legs feel like Jell-O, So that was interesting to
Yeah.
That was surprising. I'm really surprised that out of everything that happened, I did not think an Amazing Race team would have gotten eliminated in the first week.
No, that was a shock. I mean, you could have bet how many times, and you would always picked either a Survivor team's going home or Big Brother team's going home. I did not see Art and JJ going home right away. That was crazy. It really was. So overall, what did you think of the overall episode? I'll go first. I thought it was a good episode. I don't think the tasks were anything great, but I think the people on the show, I think there's a very strong cast, and I feel like they made the show. I think like Rupert's very entertaining. There's a lot of entertaining teams, and we just got like a real small sample of all those teams. So I think that them, going forward, I think this is going to be a really fun season. But I think the opening, I feel like this first episode was carried by how good the teams are, and their personalities. So I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10, but it's mostly because of the personalities on it. What'd you think?
I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The only reason why I'm going to go a little bit higher is just because it looks like it's going to be we can only go off one episode. Every leg of the race is going to be close. So the two things that I took away from it are teams are obviously going to butt heads, which that's nothing new. It's just depending on which one. We don't quite know that yet. And two, the teams are really, really close. I mean, we can't go off of time, but it looked to me like, from team 1 to team 4, it was probably only the difference of about maybe 45 minutes or so. I mean, so, one trip, one stumble, one misread of a clue can really affect it. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing for me, is to see how close the teams actually finish to each other this season. Because it looks like, only one weekend, it looks like it's going to be close throughout most of the season.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's going to be really competitive. Like we said, there's a lot of good teams. I think we're going to see a lot of different first place finishes. That's for sure. I think, I think that, the good thing about this, and it was kind of true with season 30's premiere too. We had some really entertaining finishes for the first episode. You remember last year, the team got eliminated by a step. And then this year you get the whole Rupert, Laura, and Art and JJ drama. I mean, that was good. Like, we've gotten some pretty nail biting, type action on the first episode. So I think it's only going to get better.
And some headstrong people, some very, very competitive headstrong people on it that already are. If you finish, and they talked about this too. If you finish kind of towards the bottom, it's not that simple. It's just like, okay, cool, we at least survive in advance type of metaphor. It's, we have to fix our issue right now, today, right this second.
Yeah.
Whether it's communicating better or whatever the case might be. That's something that I'm going to be interested to see how, as the season goes on. And that's the thing, too, about this show, right? I mean, just because you finish first one week, you could finish sixth next week. I mean, it just depends on where you're going and what your tasks are. And I agree with you. I think the tasks this week weren't too terribly hard, but the episode did keep my attention, which was good. I mean, that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we had a detour last year's first episode either. So it seems to be like a trend where they don't do a detour on the first episode. So we're probably going to get a detour next week for sure. What did you see that the U-turn is going to be like a vote? Did you see that?
I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that, which to me sounds like that would be like a Survivor thing.
Yeah, and I told you, it got cut off. It got cut off because our show got deleted in audio history. But yeah, I said that on there. I bet I was like, I bet they're going to do a lot of tasks that are going to be Survivor / Big Brother oriented, and there's going to be some aspects of those games that they're going to bring in this because they'd have to. So yeah, you're right. I mean, there's going to be alliances now. It's going to make it even more interesting. So.
But I don't think Rupert and I'm blanking on who he was talking to in the I believe it was Eliza in the during the shoot competition. They basically were saying next to each other, we're representing Team Survivor. It would be terrible if one of us got eliminated right away. So the alliances that you could use in Survivor may or may not work depending on what you're thinking. Although Amazing Race in the past has done alliances like this with certain points, then it's every person for themselves.
Oh yeah.
So
a lot of times those alliances end up just exploding. I mean,
yes.
I can't remember what it was. It was one of the earlier seasons. It was like maybe season 8 or 9. I can't remember. There was like 3 teams that were just in this alliance, and eventually one team turned on the other team because they kind of had to at a certain point. So alliances are always going to be broken on this show. They won't last long. I mean, they'll last maybe for a few episodes, but we'll see. So before I read next week's preview, let's go through our power rankings. Team number 10, who do you got?
Team number 10, I have Rupert. Have to. He's dead last. I mean, and that's the thing that's interesting for me is that the psychology of the game is already in his head. He's already wrapped into it, which is not necessarily a good thing. To be wrapped into it psychologically and go, I'm defeated. I quit. I give up. That's a bad sign right away. So I have Rupert 10.
Yeah, I got Rupert and Laura 10 too. Like I said, it's going to take a miracle for them to stay in this race. They're gonna have to get better at directions, because that was just killer for them. They didn't do bad in the tasks. They did not do bad in the tasks. So maybe if they go to a country that's isn't as bad, I guess, or they're maybe they don't have to make many decisions on the directions, they might have a chance to stay in. But they have to get better, and they have to get better at directions. I think Laura needs to lead them when it comes to directions, because Rupert clearly shown he's stubborn, and he led them to almost their demise. So you would think they gotta pick it up pretty strong. But they are also my number 10 team with everything combined. Who do you have at number 9?
Number 9, I have Chris and Brett. I just think that if something as simple as grabbing the clue, not even necessarily finding the clue, but grabbing the clue, if that's tripping you up now granted, we talked about the inexperience of these things already. That's not good, because usually finding clues is the easy part, because it's usually in a box. Not always, right? But usually it's in a box. So if you're having trouble already even completing tasks, and they did a spectacular job of completing tasks, but then you go, now what? Now what do I do? That's a bad mistake, and that could cost them, I think, down the road.
Yeah, I wasn't really impressed with